What's up, everyone? Welcome to the High Passion Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Kay, and we're here in Hamilton, Ontario with some amazing people, Anthony Foster and Reena Rampersad.
Hey.
What's up?
We've joined Reena and Anthony in our season finale to talk about the amazing community event they put on called Canna Crawl and tell you all how you could be there. Let's get into it. Thanks for coming out, or thanks for having us out, guys. I mean, it's been awesome talking and being to all the events in the past. Been coming out since 2019 myself. I know you guys have been doing this forever, and so glad to finally get here and start doing this.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming back to Hamilton.
Yes. We're in the space right now out here where it all happens, man, right next door and in here.
Yeah, thanks for having us. And I actually didn't know until a recent conversation that you had been coming to Canna Crawl since 2019. So
yeah.
Thank you for your support.
Always. It was under a different name back then. High Passion Podcast is a little newer than that. But I mean, I've been around for a bit. And I mean, you guys have been around doing it longer even. So it's awesome. Let's start by telling the people what Canna Crawl is.
Do you want to tell them? You want me to tell them? So, okay, Canna Crawl is to me, it's so much more than an actual event, but I'll go there later. For now, it's an event that we hold 4 times per year. The emphasis is on, number one, providing access.
Okay.
Access for a lot of things that are not available in the current regime and realm.
Yeah.
As well as providing a place and opportunity for us to promote, preserve, and further the culture, the original culture that really exists behind the plants.
Yes, I agree completely. Obviously we have a new event coming up shortly, right after the release of this. Tell the people a little bit about that.
420, guys.
420.
We're running 419, April 19th. We're having our Canna Crawl, our 420 festival.
Yes.
It's gonna be great. We got 80 plus vendors, exhibits, food, music, same Canna Crawl vibes. Just doing it again, 2025.
Yeah.
This year's been going so fast, so.
And obviously, what is the goal of Canna Crawl? You know, you guys obviously have been putting this event on for years and years. What's your main objective of doing this?
So what we're doing right now, I had mentioned the whole access thing, but I've always envisioned Canna Crawl becoming much bigger than it is. I would love to see it become a multi-day event.
Okay.
But also, being someone who comes from a culture that has always ingrained cannabis as part of our regular everyday life, when you're doing regular things, or whether you're celebrating life, or, going out, staying in, it's a part of everything.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see it be a part of that. That being said, I'd like to see Canna Crawl evolve into a festival,
Yeah.
that also incorporates music.
Awesome.
Even though we have a DJ and music is involved and included and a part of the aspects of Canna Crawl right now, reggae music and cannabis go together hand in hand. They are they couldn't possibly, complement each other more for so many reasons. Reggae music to me is a very spiritual thing. Cannabis to me is a very spiritual thing. It's something that, kind of encourages you to look within.
Absolutely.
More. And so does reggae music.
Yeah.
It's very much a revolutionary thing.
Yeah, and I would also say like reggae music and cannabis is probably one of the largest introductions that a lot of the community outside of reggae have had to cannabis. A lot of people's first time being taught or hearing about cannabis would be through reggae music and other things like that. So it's cool to get back to those roots of it all and connect those two things back together.
Yes.
Not that they've ever been separate, but
and I feel
really
like that's
just
missing.
amplifying.
I do feel like that's missing. So I do have friends that are promoters in the music realm, and then we are more or less I don't want to say experts, but we have a lot of experience in what we do in terms of the marketplace side of things.
I mean, I'd definitely say you guys are experts.
And I would like to, combine those. I'd love to see that be something where, you're at a reggae festival enjoying, some of the artists that you grew up hearing or that you absolutely revere and respect and admire. You're enjoying that music. You're feeling the endorphins that are, generated and, boosted by listening to music that you love. But at the same time, there are, a gazillion vendors around you, where you could go around and speak to this farmer, about his plant and what he brought today, or, this woman over here who's made ganja juice, because the vibe goes with the vibe. It all goes together, and none of that is really happening right now. And
it's bringing that whole farmers market vibe almost and combining it to the music festival. And that's one of the things that I've always liked about Canna Crawl is it does seem more of a farmers market versus there's a lot of other markets out there, and all love to them, but where it's like, it's a market, you go in, you walk through the vendors, you check everything out and you leave, versus Canna Crawl, it seems to be for me that it's like, it's a community. Everyone hangs out.
You better stay for a bit.
It's a good time. You're actually, interacting with all the vendors a little more, kind of like going to your neighborhood farmer market back in the day, I'd imagine, where you talk to the guy who actually grew the corn.
Too.
And everyone you're buying off of is like truly passionate about what they're doing.
And that's a great point, because if we back up a few decades, when marketplaces were key, and where people shopped, where grocery stores and these instant kind of entities didn't exist, the marketplace was also a place where people met and they came together and they would communicate and whatever, because phones and internet and all this stuff didn't exist. So this is where people would come together. You'd see your neighbor and you'd shoot the shit, and you'd stand there and have a smoke and whatever, while you had your groceries, you'd share what you had bought and whatever,
so
and what have you. So, this aspect of community has kind of died out and is missing. But the people who go to markets are not just going to markets to buy the produce or the products or the, commodities that they go home with. They're going there for the whole experience. And this is what we are really trying to preserve and, bring back, if you will, with Canna Crawl. I've mentioned it many times, and I probably sound like a broken record. This is our event. We started this event, but I can't tell you how much I actually really look forward to it. I love it. I love the event, and I'm really busy. I don't get to maybe enjoy, partaking in the activities as much as I would like to.
Of course, you're hosting.
But it's just like seeing the connection, seeing the people, seeing families, because for me, it's a family thing. Like, I grew up with my grandmother, my father smoking. The first person I smoked with was my brother, who's no longer on this earth. So to me, it's a very familial thing. So to see those connections for me is such a full circle thing. And my niece now works at the door, which I love, which is like, for me, that's like,
thing.
It's so much more than just like a cannabis event. And, this is something that I've tried to explain to, the new legal realm and people who are running these events. I'm like, it's very different. It's very different. I can't really explain it, in words.
Speaks to how much it truly means to you that you can get that enjoyment out of it while you're still doing all that work. Because, like, obviously to some people, and obviously still to you, it is work, but you're getting that enjoyment out of it at the same time, and it's awesome. And we spoke previously. I hope this time, I'm hoping to bring my mom out for the first time.
I hope so.
Because you said how much it means to you, and I actually spoke to my mom this morning about coming down. So I'm hoping to bring her down.
I would love to meet her. That would be amazing. I might make you go on stage and tell everybody to say hi to your mom.
I mean, listen, you embarrass her more than me. It'd be awesome.
If she's willing. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I mean, I'm going to spark this up. You gave this to me as a gift.
Yes, amazing.
What is this?
Okay, so it's a legacy brand. It's actually family. We're talking about family connection. One of Anthony's family, and it's the brand is called Top Shelf. It's one of the brands he carries. He carries many brands. Top Shelf, as well as another brand that I have in front there called Kimosabi. But beautiful little pre-rolls in this. Oh my gosh.
Awesome. You can try it out right now.
And Daniel's going to give one a shot, so he'll tell you
Yes.
Laughing Buddha, and that's
The
funny
filters
because I got
are branded.
Buddha
Yeah,
boys.
they're branded filters. They're really
I've
nice.
got two
I
Buddhas
actually
around
like
me.
that.
Look at that.
Little
I didn't
Buddha.
realize.
Yeah.
So I've got a lighter. Big up
There
Buddha
you go.
boys, who
Shout
will
out.
also be at Canna Crawl. But the
Oh,
strain
that's not
that
the
I'm
same
smoking-
brand?
It's not
That's
the same brand.
hilarious.
I'm smoking
That's hilarious.
Laughing Buddha strain, so I think that's kind of funny.
I just assumed it was the same brand.
Coincidental, right?
That's
I
funny.
just realized
That
it.
is hilarious.
And Daniel also gifted us
Oh, some really
some
nice
lovely herb here, which I can't wait to try as
Yes,
well.
for sure.
And while I'm plugging everybody,
There you go.
Kibo Savi, come and check them out at Canna Crawl. They're an indigenous-owned brand out of 6 nations. You can come and see me. Fire stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's talk about when Canna Crawl started.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So where did it all start?
Yeah.
When did it start? You know, let's get into the history of it a little bit.
Oh, so
Do you remember how it started? So he came up with the name, first of all. And I
Okay.
actually didn't really like it at first. It's not that I didn't like it, but I was like, can't we come up with something a little bit more catchy or whatever?
Yeah.
But he was so right. Hamilton is known for one of the biggest crawls
Yeah.
there is, super crawl. People come out for it.
Yeah.
And, you know, this whole pub crawl thing is something that people have been doing for an eternity.
It's good marketing.
It just made sense.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
came up with the name.
Absolutely.
But like the concept, Anthony and I used to throw events together
Okay.
prior to Canna Crawl.
Yeah.
And it was just really a progression. You know, there was one group that was doing slightly larger markets in Toronto,
Okay.
but it was starting to fizzle out. And I was like, hello, why are we not doing
we're
that?
missing out. We're
in
missing out.
Hamilton.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
Hamilton.
And so, you know, we had to hash out like a real conversation around it and say, you know, do we think people would come? What would this look like? You know, what would the budget look like? What would the risks be? What would, you know, so we had to really, you know, weigh it out.
Yeah.
And we decided we were gonna go for it. You know, we both had a following. We saw the need for it, the absolute need for it, and we were both committed to growing it.
Yeah.
You know, to it being our baby and investing whatever was necessary to make it grow. And I should probably mention it was Anthony, myself, and we had a third partner at the time.
When it started.
Yeah. So you know, the 3 heads I think was a good thing back then. You know, especially because it required a lot of energy to start. And let me tell you,
Still
like,
does.
whoa,
I was just gonna say.
whoa, I mean,
does.
a lot of energy.
Yeah, you have the ball of energy, Anthony, over there. So we got a lot to feed off of.
The day of is so busy, but that person used to be the person who handled the majority of logistics. Now
Oh,
it's
wow.
Anthony and I. So like he was running from like corner to corner to corner all day.
Yeah.
So, you know, we still haven't been able to replace that third person.
Yeah.
So we still feel it. Lucky now we have a pretty robust team of volunteers and staff
Really good team.
who, you know, help us out.
good
They're
team.
great.
Which is
Shout
awesome.
out to our team.
Yes.
All of our team.
Yes.
You guys are amazing. You know,
So you mentioned you did events before Canna Crawl.
yeah.
What were those about or like?
He created those.
Yeah, so I had a cannabis lounge in the city of Hamilton.
Okay.
Hamilton Vape Lounge.
Yep.
Small little spot, but we used to run a very tight-knit community. That's the one thing is, as we're talking about family, community is a big thing, and that is family.
Yes.
So running our secret sessions events were just great. We'd run these. We'd have a bunch of
And you hear the name
sponsors.
Secret Sesh? That's been stolen and
Yep.
used
Everywhere.
in the new legal realm. I'm sorry, I have to say it.
I
He
get
was
it. Hey.
Secret Sesh like 15 years ago. So that's how it started. There's more.
There's more. So yeah, we used to have the secret sessions, the dab and dines.
Dab and Dine, which has been stolen too and
Yep.
used. That's okay. I say
Yep.
it's all a compliment. It's all a
It
compliment.
is.
Just like someone's using High Society now. They're gonna have a High Society event like on 4/18. It's a compliment.
Yeah, it is.
Compliment.
It is.
for sure,
100%.
for sure. So we had our space, we had our events, and with our events, always implemented infused food.
Okay.
And this is where Reena came in.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
So
how we
this
kinda
is- yeah,
High
we
Society
started
Supper
working
Club.
together.
You know, so I definitely some history in the city, you know, of running events and having the cannabis space and holding it down in the city. We've been doing this for so long, so yeah, it's definitely with our community.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, that's awesome. I mean, we already talked about the name. You came from obviously the Canna Crawl, Bar Crawl, the whole scene.
Art crawl,
Yeah.
super crawl.
Yeah,
That's-
it just made sense. You just fill in a gap in the market that no
Smart.
one was doing,
Yeah.
you know, and it's I mean, it's stuck for how many years now? So this it's clearly been working, and it's something I love to come to every year. Yeah. So how many of these are you throwing a year?
4 per year.
4 per year.
Yeah.
Season.
Also
with
seasonal.
the exception of COVID. During
Okay.
COVID,
That was
I think
tough.
we did it biannually for a couple of years, maybe
Yeah.
2 years. We just did it twice per year. But we didn't stop. We
didn't.
were going to stop, but the need couldn't have been greater.
I agree.
I mean, you know, during COVID, not only were we completely isolated, but we were cut off from a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, people needed access more than ever.
That's true.
Mental health was, you know,
At an all-time low.
at an all-time
Yeah.
low. I mean,
In
you
all
know,
communities.
we have doctor friends who talk about how the biggest impact that happened during COVID, the negative impact, was mental health.
Yeah,
You know, and
absolutely.
people are talking about so many other things, but they're not talking about that. So yeah, we continued during COVID. We adapted. We actually ended up doing a what do you call that? Like timed tickets or
that was-
Okay.
so
Time
we
slots.
had intervals,
Yeah,
time
yeah,
slots,
yeah,
intervals.
to keep
So,
it as a reasonable
yeah.
amount of people.
So we limited the amount of people that could come during the
Smart.
various
Slots.
time
So
slots.
smart.
Yeah.
And they purchased tickets for their various time slots, and
Just keeping
that's how we
people
did
in
it.
mind, right?
Yeah.
You know, you want to provide the access, but you also want to keep people safe. So it's you know,
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
a very conscious thing to
Yeah.
be doing. I mean, like you said, it's a hard decision to make, but
Yeah.
it's something that people still needed at
Yeah.
the time. So making the decision to still move forward,
Yep.
I mean, I think it was the right thing
And the
to do.
people who came were well aware of what the risks were.
Of course.
You know, and they were people who were completely comfortable with being
Those-
around other people.
Exactly.
You know, we did mandate masks. Not everybody wore a mask because we're not people to mandate that. You know, sorry,
Yeah.
we asked and suggested it. We didn't mandate.
Yeah.
Yes,
Let me
yes,
take that
yes,
back.
yes.
I'm not a mask mandate maker.
Yes, yes.
I'm not what. So you know, we let that
But
be
you
people's
asked for this-
choice. We
for-
suggested it, you
Yeah.
know, based on what the recommendations
Absolutely.
were. But we let that be people's personal choice. We had hand sanitizers. We had, you know, all of whatever people would need available to make themselves feel
you did it
comfortable
right.
in that kind of a circumstance.
Yeah.
So
But other than that, you did 4 a year.
Yeah.
Every one a season.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. When you guys are marketing this whole Canna Crawl, what's that process like? You know, getting vendors, going out and doing this. You know, what's that all like?
So let's talk. Let's go to the marketing team.
There you go.
Okay, no. Serious though, is social media, obviously that's one thing, but the whole thing with social media is super tough.
Yeah.
I call it street line promo, and getting on the street, talking to the community is the best way. We love it. People love seeing us.
Yes.
We've done different tours, different cities. Hamilton, obviously, we got a lot of love. We did Mississauga. She got a lot of love.
Yeah.
She got a love. That's the roots where she's got. And then we did Oshweekend. We did the Six Nations. Yeah.
You're just going out, just
Yeah.
getting out there in person is your
much as
main
we
move.
can.
hands on.
can.
Yeah.
We found that
Making
it's
those real connections.
Yeah,
for
I mean
sure.
that
For sure.
I definitely feel that's your specialty for sure, Anthony. So you know,
to.
everybody in the community is always like Anthony this, Anthony that. So it's you know, you can see that you've made some strong connections, man.
Yeah, for sure. It's the whole thing we do.
So what are some of the other connections, you know, like culturally you spoke about briefly with the Rastafarian culture that you want to bring to Canna Crawl?
Yeah, so for me, it's definitely a familial thing. I grew up with ganja being around my entire life. My grandmother growing and smoking it, and my father. My family's not around in that sense anymore, but I love to see those connections continue and grow with other people.
Yeah.
Seeing the younger generation connecting with their older generations, and you know, like I said, bringing the family in is just to me, that's such a golden thing. That's such a wonderful thing. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what your personal, let's go each one of you
yes.
first, but like, what is your personal connection with cannabis like?
Yeah, I'll say I'm finding cannabis through for medicine.
Yeah.
And then like even with I had tore my ACL. I use topicals, creams. I'm a big topical fiend. I love topicals.
Yeah.
So just finding cannabis medicinally, and then even mentally with it, using it for my mind, keeps me at a great pace. It keeps me being me. That's my connection with it. And then everything else is also going back to community. It's just always having that. That's even why we had our Hamilton vape space was having a space where you could try it before you buy it, but really gathering up, having a community and providing services. And I love my services. We got a bunch of services. We'll talk about that in another episode.
Absolutely. We're gonna have you both back separately and get into what you guys do,
sure.
personally, way more. But what about you, Reena? What's your?
Yeah. So I guess for me, number one, it is culture. It really keeps me connected to my culture. My parents have been gone for quite some time, and the brother who I started smoking with. So it's a real connection for me. I feel even more connected to them through the herb, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But also medicinally, first round when I was in my teens and I was a smoker, at first it was to feel high,
Of course.
I was at a party, it was fun to do with my friends. Then I stopped smoking as a social worker because they were testing my urine.
Okay.
When I was a social worker in Detroit. So I stopped smoking for about 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And then when I moved back to Toronto, I just had a lot of life happening, divorce. My father had passed away, a lot of stuff. And the doctor was suggesting Prozac, which I didn't even ask for. I didn't even say I'm depressed or I need anything.
Nope.
But he said, you know what, because of what you're going through, I'm just going to write you a prescription. So if you need it, you can use it. If you don't need it, just put it to the side.
That's crazy.
And when I went home, I was like, what the fuck? I already know of the damages of Prozac as a social worker.
Yeah.
But I did find maybe a QP in my father's freezer. And I thought, you know what? They're not testing my pee anymore.
Let's try it.
Maybe I am depressed. Maybe I should try this out. Maybe this will make a difference. Maybe I had no idea. And that first spliff that I had back again after how many years was so life-changing.
Wow.
I had heard about the medicinal benefits. I had heard about the mind-body benefits, but I really experienced it. It was crazy. It took me so many steps back from my own life, and I was looking at it from a third-party perspective going, that's not so deep. Why are you so upset? That's actually okay. Actually, you should be happy about that and thankful for this.
Yes.
And, forget about that. Whatever. In 2 months, it won't even matter. So, really changed my perspective on so many things. And then also, I have endometriosis or had endometriosis, which is a condition that a lot of Black women experience, which created a lot of other things. And I was on heavy medication when I lived in the States.
Wow.
I couldn't explain how it was almost non-existent after I'd started back smoking weed. And the unfortunate thing is back then, research was very limited. So I couldn't find too much, but I found a few people with anecdotal evidence saying that they had had the same experience. And I was like, holy shit. It's really taking away my pain. I'm on heavy ass friggin' medication for this shit.
Yeah.
And this is working better than my meds.
Yeah, which is crazy. And I've heard that same thing from a couple people we've had on the podcast, Mello and Natty as well. They both have mentioned the same thing, and they're like, cannabis seems to just work really well with endometriosis.
Amazing. Incredible.
It's awesome. I mean, it's awesome to hear the connections and the benefits that you both have had from, the beautiful plant cannabis is, and everything that we get to do with it is just absolutely amazing.
How about you? Do you use it medicinally?
Yeah. So, I mean, as most of us, we started smoking to have fun. My dad's an old school hippie, so I started smoking because I thought it was cool, and but as through my life, I got diagnosed with ADHD. I got put on Vyvanse. Yeah. I was on that through high school. And it helped me when I was in class and had to do exams and stuff. But when I got out into the workforce, it really hindered me. It wasn't, you know, it made me not able to really do my job as well as socialize as much. You know, it just didn't let me be
Zombie,
me,
man.
you know?
Zombie.
And so to be honest, I just started, I dropped it. And when I dropped it, I noticed I started smoking way more. And now I just kind of use it to manage the ADHD and let it come out when I'm comfortable and it's the right environment and, you know, and just be myself.
Oh, yeah.
And when I need to lock in, you know, I consume a little more or more strain specific. I like to consume the indicas because they lock me in.
Yeah, for sure.
And then a little bit for pain relief. I've got chronic tendonitis in my shoulder, but
Yeah.
to be honest, it's just always been a part of my life, and you know, I absolutely love it, and I don't think I could have a life without it.
Right.
In a
Yeah.
positive way, though.
No.
In a positive way.
For
Like,
sure.
Very
That's-
positive.
Like
Very positive.
if I can kind of piggyback on that for
Yeah.
a little bit, when I was a social worker in Detroit and I worked with at-risk youth, let me tell you, like the results with those kids who would sneak away and smoke a joint or smoke a spliff with their friends before returning back to the residential home, they were night and day different.
Yeah.
Like these kids were on Ritalin, they were on, I'm trying to remember what some of the other names were, but they would mess them up even more.
Yeah.
Like to where they
Concerta,
wouldn't,
Adderall.
they wouldn't know themselves. You know, sometimes they'd be, like you said, a zombie, completely spaced out, or sometimes they'd feel ill. Sometimes they'd feel sick. They had side effects physically.
Yeah.
But the ones who smoked weed, oh my God, like they would come home happy, making jokes. They were completely cordial. They would listen to all of the directives.
Yeah.
Not only were they responsive, but they would encourage their peers to listen. And they were redirecting their peers. They transformed entirely
Yeah.
as people. And the only explanation is they had smoked some weed.
Yeah. And it's crazy. It's crazy how much something.
And they could go to school and focus.
Yeah.
And
It's how much a plant
a plant did that.
can do that.
That
when
everybody
they
was
want to prescribe you
demonizing.
all this stuff.
Yeah.
And like, and everyone.
And
always-
it's youth too, right? So people, of course, shy away from it because, you know, there's like that whole thing of psychosis. Doesn't cause it
Yeah.
at all. There's correlation.
But
So
you have to weigh out the
correlation, though.
Yeah, anything in a medical sense, though, you have to weigh out the benefits versus the risks. You know what I mean? And if it's a kid that is struggling with ADHD or certain things, and they're being prescribed heavy medications already, how are you going to demonize cannabis use
Yeah,
when
for sure.
you're already prescribing this kid
And it's also strain specific.
narcotics?
Yeah, like
And consumption methods, you know, again,
Right.
too, is consuming cannabis and a joint. I would never give a child a joint.
Yes.
And you know what I mean? If that was the case.
Yeah,
you know,
if they
so
needed it,
there's a way to consume.
RSO.
a child,
Ways to
though,
consume.
yeah.
RSO.
Yeah,
Maybe-
teen-
maybe a
teenagers
teenager,
too, but like even
yeah.
still, they don't have to.
I wouldn't
there's-
encourage
it's,
the
it's
smoking.
definitely the
Yeah.
it's definitely the harshest
know.
way to consume
For
cannabis
sure.
for sure.
The least healthiest way.
Yeah,
for
edibles.
sure.
Like, come on, you take some capsules before to go into the thing. I'm
It's
focused.
like I said, it's like you're taking pills
Yeah,
already.
you're already
You know what
taking-
I mean?
there's some
So
ways.
it's a
Healthy
weird
choices,
it's a
right?
weird line for them to be like, oh, but cannabis isn't allowed, and I'm like, but
No,
you're
you-
giving them speed basically.
That's so
Like-
wild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, like,
and you
it's-
can be strain specific. You know, if
That-
you know somebody is
I'd love to get into that more.
you know that somebody's family maybe has a history of psychosis or whatever, so maybe it's a little bit touchy with them. If you're gonna try cannabis, make sure it's, you know, a strong indie
I
or
can't wait.
you know, something like that.
I can't wait for the future to when we start understanding cannabis more and can actually realize what parts of the plant are actually benefiting us in which ways.
Fully.
Like right now, it's way too. They're like, oh, THC gets you high, CBD is for pain relief, and like whatever. It's like
Yeah,
so
there's
complex.
way more to it, and
it's so
there's
individualized,
it's
too.
Individualized. It interacts with the
Excuse
different
me, sorry.
terpenes and things that the plant has. Like it's.
No, for
We
sure.
don't understand it yet. Then
No.
I laugh when you see people making these claims, and I'm just like,
Generalizations.
man, we don't know. That's the best thing to say is we don't know. Like you could say, I think
That's okay.
this is how it works for me. It's awesome. But we're
okay.
allowed not to know things. It's early. Cannabis is like the actual research side of cannabis is fairly
It's so
young
young.
because they're
Yeah,
just
we just
allowing us to do proper
access.
research.
Yeah.
It's been all hush hush and like low key and under the table until Canada's federal legalization, really. So I mean, we touched on it briefly there. Your favorite consumption methods, Anthony. I think we can tell, but
So
tell the
I'm
people.
into solventless extractions because that's what we do.
Yeah.
I'm all about that. I'm into processing.
What are you smoking there?
So I'm actually smoking some purple ice water by Squish Gang Extracts.
Yes.
Holla at your boy. Yeah, and I like to dab. I also like to eat my edibles too. Again, I'm really trying to find consumption methods that are more healthier.
Agreed.
I work out. I find that I love hitting a dab before my workout, and it just pushes me right through for full focus, and like I could dummy out an hour workout after hitting a few dabs in. So yeah, like
That's awesome, man.
gonna try
It makes
to-
you feel more in tune
thinking
with your
about doing
muscles.
some videos or something. I might have to do.
should.
Yeah,
I get that
shout out to
motivation
my
out there,
uncle.
bro.
He's the inspiration for that. My uncle owns
should.
a sports conditioning whole channel, and
People want to see
Yeah.
it, bro. 100%.
Yeah,
they
for
need
sure.
to see it, and
Weed
it's a
and
good light.
workouts.
For,
I've been
Weed and
talking about it for a
workouts.
long time.
It's the
Weed
way.
and workouts.
Oh,
it's a
Only
good,
way.
it's a good light for the cannabis community too.
Yeah.
Like it
Sure.
promotes exactly
Yep.
what we're promoting here.
Yep.
It's like
It's
we ain't
healthy.
lazy.
It's
We ain't
healthy.
lazy.
No.
Just
No.
because we're
No.
smoking doesn't mean we're
No.
lazy.
No.
Me too.
Ooh,
I prefer to smoke too before I work out, and I know smoking is not the healthiest
Yeah.
consumption
So your favorite
method,
way to consume is
but it
flower.
is. It's my favorite way.
Yeah.
It is. For
got
a
a
long
joint
time,
everywhere. She leaves a trail of joints all over the place. You know Reena was in the space when she left the joint somewhere. It's got a little bit of lipstick, and you know it's her. She gives herself away. Look at she was here.
I wish I could say different. But that is so true. But I'm trying to become healthier with my consumption.
Fair.
Once upon a time, I used to only vape. I
really?
had the Volcano. I had a vapor daddy, a vapor brother. I had a portable one. But
Whole
I
family vapes.
I fell out of it. Like this is to me is
A&W
so
burgers.
enjoyable. I love this. I can't, I hate to admit it, but I love the whole experience of it. I love the sensation of the burn. I like
I know,
all of
it's
it,
so
even
nice.
though it's terrible for you.
No,
It's
I
terrible.
completely.
It's terrible.
I'm completely with you.
I'm an edibles maker, and this is what I prefer to do.
Yeah,
So I've got to get more into edibles.
Yeah, I've been into the flower like crazy. Dabs for some reason, every time I get into them, I start getting throat issues.
Oh,
I
yes.
don't know why.
My lungs
Yeah,
sometimes.
So I
Sometimes
don't
get
know
lung
why.
stuff.
Like I'll smoke them here and there.
How was the stuff I gave you earlier?
It was
Is
great.
nice?
The thing is, I can smoke a dab here and there.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
like I can't make
That
it.
can be your main.
I do. I
consumption.
smoke.
Too
I
harsh.
smoke so frequently that I just can't do it all
I
the
get
time.
it.
Like
I
I
get
tried
it.
it with the Puffco. I tried it with a dab rig and a thermometer, and
too
I
much.
just
Too much.
just can't. It's
get it.
not for me. But like I do enjoy a nice dab here and there, obviously.
sure.
Anthony, tell us a little bit about what you do and shout out like your personal stuff just briefly.
Okay, so there's a lot of things I do.
Yeah.
I don't know if we got time for that.
Well,
but-
briefly, we're gonna
but
have you both on individually
for
in the
sure,
future, back at the
Briefly,
studio. But
you know what? Just take a look at Hamilton Vape Family. We're
Yeah.
doing a lot of stuff on there. I got so many projects going on. Stay tuned on there.
Yeah.
And then obviously right now is Canna Crawl. Canna
Yeah.
Crawl is what we're focusing on this month. It's April. So we're gonna be moving. We're gonna moving and grooving.
that's it.
So.
What about you, Reena?
Yeah, so my brand is called High Society Supper Club. Been in operation for, I don't know, I think since about, I was trying to figure out when, I think 2012 is when I
Wow.
started.
Wow.
So it's been around for some time. I have Canna Crawl happening, which
Yeah.
I can't wait for. That's what's next. But also, I'm going to be doing some dinners out west, finally.
Awesome.
I'm collaborating with my awesome friend, Nicole Hines of Faded Living. Big up, Nicole.
Wow.
She's out in Vancouver, and I'm actually going to meet her in Calgary, which is where we're going to be doing, we're going to start out with a mother's high tea And then we're gonna do like a small bites event, a tasting event.
Wow.
So yeah, that will be a treat because it'll be the small bites that she does best and the small bites that I do best. We're coming together and doing a thing. So I can't wait to do that.
Sounds amazing.
And then the next Canna Crawl will be July. We believe it's July 11, 12. So look out for an announcement around there, but save that weekend.
Awesome.
And just like there's a lot of stuff kind of on the go.
Of
you know,
course.
I've been doing tables at some of the dance hall and Caribbean events that I go to, you know, because like I said, you know, that connection is kind of missing. So trying to bring that back. But just look out for what's next.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, post about it.
As I mentioned already, we're going to have you both back individually, back in the podcast, back in Toronto.
Awesome.
And we'll talk about what you guys do individually a little bit more. We're really focusing on Canna Crawl this time because, you know, you guys are getting right into that. Basically, right after this release is 2 weeks, you know, make sure everyone gets your tickets to that. 420, April 19th, you're doing the event.
Yeah.
And anyone else you guys want to shout out before we wrap up?
Yeah, if you don't mind, our partners in the event, Organja Society, big up. I give Organja big props because to me, they are the most genuine in terms of their representation of the original communities who brought cannabis to like this society in this realm.
Awesome.
So they represent the indigenous communities, including Rastafari, and anyone who identifies as indigenous globally and who is connected to the plant. So big up Organja Society. I feel blessed to be a part of their organization, and it's themselves in coordination with Canna Crawl that brings this to everybody.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's it too.
Yeah.
She's good. She's got
That's it. Yes. All right. Well, I mean, thank you so much for having us out here. I mean, it's an awesome space. It's been an awesome time, and I can't wait to see you both again at the 420 event because we'll definitely be there. So thank you.
Yay, cool. Looking forward. Thanks for having us. All right,
Yes, thank you. To everyone watching, if you enjoy what we're doing, make sure to like, follow, and share on YouTube at High Passion Pod and on Instagram and Spotify at High Passion Podcast. If you want to keep up with our guests today, follow Reena at High Society Supper Club and Anthony at Hamilton Vape Family, or make sure to check out at Canna Crawl _HAMONT, or go to www.cannacrawl.ca for tickets to the 420 Festival April 19th. I want to give a huge shout out to the guy behind the camera and our producer, Sean Sweeney at Sean CS10 for making everything happen and everything you've done for the podcast in season 1. And to all our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in to the first of many seasons of the High Passion Podcast. And I hope you tune in next time. Keep your eye out for season 2. And until then, stay positive and stay passionate.